For most people in the aviation world, the Boeing 787 Dreamliner is a new and modern aircraft. Well, it is, by all accounts, a modern, high-tech jetliner with few rivals. But it's worth remembering at the same time that the type entered service about 15 years ago. But while 30 years, give or take, has been the industry norm for an aircraft's lifespan, some 787 owners have already decided to retire and scrap their airframes due to various factors. And so in this video, we take a look at which airframes have met this fate and look into the reasons for each decision. For this video, we are taking data from planespotters.net and their production lists section, with research taking place in early January 2026. And so the latest data shows at least 11 Dreamliner airframes were built but are no longer operating. The one airframe that stands out on this list is 787-8 with manufacturer serial number or MSN 36279 and line number 26. Registered Victor Tango Alpha November Bravo on the day of its demise, this was the Air India aircraft that tragically crashed on June 12, 2025 while taking off from Ahmedabad, India. The investigation is ongoing and a full accident report should be coming in mid-2026. But the crash seems to be the result of engines being starved of fuel. With this in mind, the fuel cutoff switches are drawing extra attention. This aircraft was 11.5 years old at the end of its life. But aside from this dramatic hull loss, what happened to the other 10 787s? Well, first on our list is the 787-8 airframe with MSN 36424 and line number 106. This aircraft's first flight took place on July 31, 2013 and was delivered to Thomson Airways in August 2013 under registration Golf Tango Uniform India Delta. After operating under the Chewy Airways brand, the jet was withdrawn from use in November 2025, with Lesser Oryx Aviation retaking possession of the jet. As reported by Aerospace Global, this 787-8 was moved from Manchester to Prestwick on November 29th, where it remained until December 10th, when it took a short ferry flight down to Kemble. Powered by GEnx engines, the jet was recorded in March 2025 as having 48,770 flight hours across 7,645 flight cycles. The scrapping of relatively new aircraft is the result of long delivery wait times paired with supply chain issues prompting a shortage of spare parts, crucially for engines and other critical components to keep existing fleets flying. Thus, parting out an aircraft that may need new components of its own may be more profitable than selling the whole airframe. This will be a theme for a few other 787s as we make our way through the list. Next up is the airframe with MSN 35507 and line number 17, which took its first flight in 2016. Originally ordered by Royal Air Maroc, it was not taken up by the carrier and was kept by Boeing until a buyer could be found. Crystal Luxury Air stepped up to take the jet in 2017 and intended to transform it into a VIP aircraft, but the company never got the jet into service. As reported by Air Data News, the company C&L Engine Solutions announced that it would be dismantling this GE-powered 787, with company president Tim Brescher stating, "The timing of this project for the 787 is perfect. The 787 fleet is reaching the 12-year mark since first deliveries and entering a busy schedule of heavy maintenance. The shortage of spare parts in the market combined with ongoing supply chain challenges makes this project critical for OEMs and operators." Planespotters.net states that the jet has been stored at Roswell since 2024, but it may very well be mostly dismantled by now. Next is the 787-8 with MSN 40694 and line number 5, which had its first flight in June 2010. This jet was just 7.8 years at the end of its life, being broken up in April 2018 at Everett Payne Field. The GE-powered Dreamliner was used by Boeing as a testbed aircraft, something you might have figured out on account of its very low line number. Many early 787s, right up to those with line numbers in the teens, are or were heavier and less efficient than Dreamliners built later. It has led to this batch of 787s being labelled the terrible teens. Next, we have a pair of 787-8s which have parallel fates. One has MSN 35305 and line number 112, and the other 35304 and 102. Both had their first flights in 2013 and were delivered to Norwegian in the same year. Norwegian would go on to cease its long-haul operations, and the pair of 787s would be stored at Prestwick from May 2019. Norddeutsche Landesbank would take the two Rolls-Royce-powered jets in 2021 and would transfer them over to an entity known as Purple Orchid LLC in January 2022. Both are listed as having been broken up at Prestwick Airport in June 2023. Airtrade Aviation managed the dismantling process. Next we have the 787-9 with MSN 37109 and line number 293. That's right, a -9 has been partially scrapped as well. The jet had registration Victor Papa Bravo Delta Alpha and was owned by a company known as Calair, taking delivery of the jet in 2015 in a VIP configuration. It stated that the airframe never entered service and was transferred to the AJW Group in April 2024. The reason for the acquisition? Spare parts. The next few 787s on our list are a little different in that they were likely to never enter commercial service. There are 3 jets which have MSNs 40690, 40691 and 40692 with line numbers 1, 2 and 3 respectively. All 3 Rolls-Royce-powered Dreamliners were testbeds for Boeing, and all 3 are now preserved at various sites across the United States. The first ever Dreamliner to be built, the aircraft with line number 1, is listed as being preserved at Nagoya Airport at the Flight of Dreams complex. The second is preserved at the Pima Air and Space Museum in Tucson, Arizona. And finally, line number 3 is preserved at Boeing Field at the Museum of Flight. And the last 2 airframes for today's video are listed as being partially scrapped. These are designated as being static test frames, meaning that they were never meant to fly, and were used in Boeing's development of the 787 while remaining on the ground. Perhaps it's a little unfair to include them on our list in the first place, but we chose to do so for the sake of completeness, and at least you now know that they existed. So there you have it, the Boeing 787 airframes that will never take off or fly passengers ever again, as well as the handful that never had the opportunity to fly passengers or were never intended to enter commercial service. From our examination of these Dreamliners, it's clear that the value of spare parts has been the largest factor prompting airframe owners to part out these 787s rather than continue operating them to generate longer-term revenue. With this in mind, we hope to see other 787s operate into their 20s as time goes on. In case you were wondering, the oldest 787 in passenger service is the jet with line number 6. It conducts VIP transport for the government of Tajikistan. The oldest jet in regular commercial passenger service is the airframe with line number 7. It operates for Air Japan and is now a little over 13 years old. With Air Japan ceasing operations in March 2026, it will likely go back to operating for its parent company, All Nippon Airways. What do you think of all this? Let us know by leaving a comment. In addition to our daily YouTube videos, Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles and a podcast every week. Visit simpleflying.com.